Hello, I'm Casey McBride. Today, I journeyed and asked the question, what message does Spirit have for the spiritual seekers of today? And the following is the journey that I experienced in response to that question. So I'm going to explain the journey itself, what I saw, what I felt, what I experienced, and in a separate video, I'm going to try and, to the best of my ability, break down the meaning and symbolism behind what it is that I saw and experienced. So this video will just be the raw experience and without any explanation, or with minimal explanation of the meaning behind what I experienced. So, to begin. I started out, I found myself standing on a bridge of light in outer space, surrounded by stars. There was definitely a sense of vastness all around me, and below my feet was a thin bridge of light with almost like the sort of wooden, I don't know what you call them, but the steps on a rope bridge, but made of light below my feet. And with each step that I took, as I released my foot, the peg or part of the light that I was standing on would fall away into space and into the darkness, into the void. So I walked down this bridge for a while, continuing to watch as with each step these pegs of light fell away into the void. And I looked ahead and saw that there was a portal of light, or an archway of light or of some kind. And I knew that I had to make it over to this archway, but it seemed very far away. So instead of trying to make my way there faster, I simply stopped moving and energetically allowed that bridge or archway of light to come toward me. And when I did, it came right up to me. I put my hand on it, and then I found myself in an entirely new scene. I was in a forest. And the first thing I saw as I looked up was a multitude of all different kinds of birds flying above me and away from me. And one bird at the end, after all the multitude of birds had flown away, picked me up, and it was an eagle. So I was on the back of this very, very large eagle. I mean, compared to the eagle size, I was probably the size of like a small, tiny field mouse or something. So I was on the back of this eagle holding on as we flew over this forest, and we landed on the top of a very tall mountain where it had a nest, and it sat me down inside of the nest where there were 5 or 6 other eggs. There were 5, I remember. There were 5 eggs in this nest, and it flew away, and as it flew away, I noticed one of the eggs was beginning to hatch. And I, for a second, started to wonder, should I help open this egg up? Should I help it come out? But then I thought, no, that's not the right way to go about this. And I felt instead I should just send the pure energy of love into the egg. And I did that, and it began to glow sort of brighter. And then the shell burst apart as this golden light came through it. And out of the golden light, there emerged a baby eagle. And I sort of put my hand on it and let it know that everything was going to be okay. And the eagle flew back, the one that I had originally rode with, flew back and fed by regurgitating food the baby eagle. And it came over to me with its mouth open as if it was going to feed me. And I thought for a second, oh, this must be it relaying some kind of message or energy or some kind of knowledge that's going to be very important. And I was expecting some kind of energy to enter me, but instead it just kind of regurgitated on top of me, which was a little humorous. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I just kind of realized it was part of the experience, so I went with it. And after that, the eagle flew away again. Oh no, I'm sorry, it didn't. At this point, it began to storm. It began to rain. And at first I thought, oh good, this will wash away all the gunk all over my body. But the eagle put its wings around me and the other baby eagle and the eggs to protect us from the rain. So I was a little frustrated that I didn't get to wash off. But instead I brought the energy of water from within and washed the water off so I could stop focusing on that so much. And it was storming, and then I began to notice, as this storm with rain and thunder and lightning was going on above us, the other eggs began to hatch. And so I sent love to all of the eggs, and same thing, they all burst forth in a golden light and baby eagles came out. Then the sun began to shine through above us, the storm cleared away, and the mother eagle flew away. And again, I just comforted all of the baby eagles, and the mother flew back, fed all of them, and then once again regurgitated on top of my head. So at this point I was starting to wonder what relevance any of this had to the question that I had asked, as I'm still learning to figure out the specific meaning, and most of the time it doesn't come to me until later. But was still going with it, and then the eagle sat down, the large mother eagle sat down on top of myself and all the other baby eagles to sort of keep us warm. And so at this point I asked the question, so here's my question to Spirit, what message does Spirit have for the spiritual seekers of today? And I heard, I don't know if it was from the eagle or just from Spirit, but I got the message of, have you not been listening already? And I'll go into detail in the next video as to what I think that meant. But the eagle then, after some time, stood up and then flew away, and I looked around and all of the eagles that were babies were now mature and had wings. And one by one they began to fly away in different directions. And the last eagle, that was the original one that had hatched, the first one, I grabbed onto its back and we flew. And we flew towards the sunset. So we were flying towards the west, towards the sunset, and then it became dark out. The eagle landed on a branch, and next to the branch, after I climbed down from its back, there was a vine that I climbed down and onto the forest floor. And from there, I began to walk, and then a wolf that was much larger than me. Again, all of the animals that I've encountered to this point have been much larger than myself. And the wolf kneeled down for me to climb on top of its back. So I climbed on top of the wolf's back, and it began to run. And it was a beautiful experience, and I just thought how amazing it was to be riding on the back of this wolf. And then its pack, so many other wolves, came to join us and were running next to us. And then we all stopped where there was a clearing so we could see the sky and the moon. The wolves sat around and began howling at the moon. So I thought I should join in. So I made my best howl at the moon. And they all stopped and looked at me, and at first I thought I did a horrible job at howling, and they were appalled. But that wasn't the case, and they all, in sort of excitement and joy, began licking my face and coming and rubbing up against me in a very loving way. And then from the middle of the pack, I guess you could say, some of their young, the pups, came and began to play with me. So it was a very joyous kind of experience. But as me and the pups were playing, I noticed all the wolves around then very suddenly became very aggressive toward one direction in the woods, as if they were protecting against something. And I looked, and there was a very large, dark entity walking around in the woods. So I knew that I could do something about that, and I saw myself become larger and larger, and much larger than I was, larger than the wolves at this point. And I reached my hand out and sent a bolt of lightning out toward the being. And it went toward the being, but hit a tree. The tree fell over, and then this being ran away into the woods, never to return again in this journey. And the wolves again thanked me. they were licking me and rubbing their faces, and then two of the wolves came up. One brought an apple, and the other bushel, or whatever you call it, a thing of berries. And I thanked them and started eating those, and then they went off to the side and began to eat a deer, which is a little disturbing to me because I don't consume animal flesh myself. So I was hoping they weren't going to invite me to do so, but I knew I had my food, so I just thanked them and said, okay, it's time for me to part ways. So I thanked them and began walking away, but before I could make my ways away, another very large wolf, a different kind of wolf, a different wolf than the ones that I had been interacting with thus far, stopped me in my path and was very aggressive and sort of growling toward me. It didn't want me to walk away. And then all of the other wolves that had been with me to this point came up behind me, defending me, again in their defensive kind of aggressive stance and growling. And I felt, instead of reacting in fear and instead of trying to run away or fight or anything, that I needed to just experience pure peace and love. And so I extended my hand in peace, and the wolf came up, at first very aggressive, and then relaxed, and then licked my palm. And then all the wolves became very relaxed, and they went over and together all began eating. And so at that point I was done with the wolves, and I was walking forward, and I looked up at the stars and the sky and the moon, and I began to sort of float upward toward them. And then the eagle I had been riding on before caught me on its back again, and then sent me up to the upper world. The upper world was always, for me, very full of light. And there I met with an angel, the angel that the humans call the Archangel Michael, I believe. And from there, he just went over some of the aspects of my journey with me. So I won't go too into detail about that part. But that was the response to the question, what message does Spirit have for the spiritual seekers of today? So watch the next video if you're interested in me going a little more into the meaning of some of the things that I saw. But thank you so much for watching this. And if you have any questions that you would like me to ask of Spirit to journey for, please make a comment below and ask anything that you would like to ask. And if it resonates with me, then I'll ask that question and journey for it. And if you have a personal question that you'd like me to ask, reach out. I'll leave my contacts below in the description, and I can do an individual journey session and journey for your specific needs and your specific question. Otherwise, like I said, if you have a general question for all of us that you think we could all benefit from, please post that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.